but we're going to get started anyway, because this is our third year anniversary at what we've termed affectionately the Hustlers Club. The reason we call it that when we got started is because a couple of mentees at the ICMCP at the time assigned to me were folks that were really phonetically trying to find their way in the industry. And so we decided that we would get together every month, share concerns, share challenges, share our accomplishments, share the things that were really working for us and not working for us in the industry. And so,
David, before you go forward, I want to thank you for that. This Hustler Club ideal when it first started, I thought it was unique. It was different. It was something that was very special. But the fact that you created this out of working with your mentees, and you know me, I'm from the hood, New Orleans. We used to always use the term that you got to have a side hustle so you can get by every day. What you did in creating this and where we're at today is amazing. And thank you so much for what you've done.
Thanks, Julian. Really appreciate that. But and it comes out of the absolute hustle that we've seen from leaders like yourself and Larry and Devin and Carlos and Eric and all of the leadership at Cyversity today. And so,
other than Devin, I agree with you.
I know. It's all good.
Hey, Devin, you asked for that, right?
I couldn't agree more with Uncle Julian, with the exception of the comment he made about Devin.
Hey, Ty, how you doing, brother?
I'm very well, man.
It's so good to hear your voice. I apologize that we haven't communicated more.
Oh, no.
In the last few months.
No, Uncle cannot apologize. Uncle is always right.
Well, okay, but I do apologize, and it is excellent to hear your voice, my friend.
Thank you.
As you guys can see, those who are in attendance now, this is like a regular get-together meeting of a confab of friends and colleagues and buddies in the industry, and you can see just from the congenial conversation that we're all really, really tightly meshed with each other and working together. And again, Julian, I appreciate that. And on the subject of the Hustlers Club, in our third year, what we're looking to do is to rebrand this group of mentees, both past, present, and future. And so we're going to be looking to our cybersecurity community, our community in general, to find a new moniker for this organization, because we're stepping into this continued age of continuing to engage and involve, especially our alumni, because they have so much to offer based on what they've learned on their journey in Cyversity and in their personal journey outside in the regular world. And so I've been personally looking forward to this conversation with Devin. But let me go over a couple of ground rules here, not ground rules to the extent that they're part of the process. This is who we are at Cyversity. We're an organization that's designed to grow and develop and highlight careers, opportunities, and contributions of diverse talent in the cybersecurity community. So what we've always done is we've engaged, we've always brought folks in, and we've always worked with them to grow their careers. The topic areas that Cyversity and the currently Hustlers Club groups is focused on is career development, it's career spotlighting, it's transitions from where you are to where you're going, development of leadership, and also tech talks. The person that we're talking to today, I consider it no small feat to be able to grab him and grab his time and put him in the spotlight for today to talk about things that Devin Bryant has done. And of course, we've invited his colleagues and co-conspirators. Larry isn't here yet that I can see, but Julian, who is the chairman of Cyversity and also a co-founder, is here to speak with and speak up for Devin. But you can see Devin's, his bio on the screen, and he's got a long and illustrious career in cybersecurity. And so we're really happy to have him, and we consider it a notch in our belt. So, Devin, over to you, right? Thank you for giving us your time, sir. Appreciate you being here. I love that sweater. I think it's, I got one similar, so we've got great taste. We've got great taste, buddy, right? I often start these conversations by asking our guests interviewers, our guest speakers, to tell the audience some things about themselves. One, just give us an idea about your journey to who you are and where you are today, and we'll get a little deeper into even that as we go down the line in this conversation. And then also, I want you to tell us something about you that we just don't know. So first, Devin, just give us a glimpse, background into who you are. And Julian, you don't have to constrain yourself to dig in here with Devin, because you know him a long time.
No, let me be quiet. Right now, it's be seen and not be heard. I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna let him talk.
There you go. So Devin, please, if you will, just give us a glimpse of who you are and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, well, thanks, David. And hey, I really appreciate everyone who's made the time. Depending on where you are in the country, even in the Northeast, where it's in the low 50s, as David and I are experiencing right now, or in Tampa, where you see Julian in short sleeves and muscle shirt, even though he has no muscles. But we'll leave that one alone. But nevertheless. He's trying to look pretty buff there, Julian. I see you. It's all good. It's all good.
Sorry.
Hey, but it's just a lot between us, everybody. But in all seriousness, I appreciate everybody making the time to join. So I'll probably answer both questions at the same time, David. And I don't want this to be about me. I really want to hear for this, interactive. I don't like talking about myself, for one.
Yeah, but Devin today is about
right.
you.
But
sorry, David, continue.
No. It's not about me, because I can tell you, if it's not for the folks like you, Julian, like David, like all those volunteers we have that take time away from their families, their kids' soccer games, homework, church activities, to do what they do for Cyversity, it doesn't exist, right? So this is not about me. This is so much larger than me. I was just fortunate enough to have been at the right place at the right time, to be able to have a conversation with you, with Larry, with Carlos, and shortly thereafter, Eric Permenter, who weighed in and threw all the resources of Links Technology Partners to make us what we are today. So this is not about me, right? This really has to be about, the folks who have helped us, to do what we've been able to do, the lives we've been able to touch along the way. And for that, I am just so truly grateful to have been a part of this journey. We're certainly not done, a lot more ahead, but I'll say this, David, like Julian, I was raised in the hood, right? My hood, however, was, Kingston, Jamaica, by a single mom with 6 boys, right? She never finished college, barely finished high school, right? But she understood the importance of a good education and the impact that could have on our lives. So she made education a priority for me, for my brothers. She also took nothing from us, right? Mama didn't play no games with us, right? So she expected excellence, and going back, hustle, right? As folks from, she was all about the hustle. So what that taught me at a very, very early age. The other thing it's also important, that I point out at this stage is that, again, we think about, mom, blue collar worker, raising 6 boys, single mom, barely making ends meet, right? I can hardly ever remember a time when there wasn't another member of the community at our dining table with us, right? Because there's a lot of kids who didn't have homes like we did and the stability that we did. And she always made room for them at our table. So there are a couple of important lessons that translated into for me and has helped me to shape who I am, right? In that, you have to serve the community, right? So much of what we are doing with Cyversity, it's serving, it's serving the community, it's giving back and reaching back and lifting up those around us, right? Important lessons learned from my mom as well, is bust your tail. Goes back to the hustle, right? You've got to strive, you've got to have motivation You gotta have ambition and you nothing but excellence, right? So you have to hold yourself accountable to certain standards and standards of excellence, especially unfortunately for folks who look like us, right? Where we are not expected to be as gifted academically, as talented, typically marginalized, get half as far, certainly is wrong true, but I would say, David, that certainly my upbringing as a huge part in shaping who I am today on multiple levels. And certainly as the global chief information security officer for the world's largest cruise brand and Carnival Corporation, right? Came with a lot of hard work, a lot of hustle, and certainly again, just in closing, I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have folks like you guys, and certainly the broader Cyversity surrounding me. So with that, I think we ought to switch gears and see Julian also on the screen. I think Garrick might be on audio and Larry as well. I'd certainly be very interested in hearing their stories as well.
Yeah, well, let's get a little bit from your colleagues, your executive level college.
And then sure, there's
wow, it's about you, Devin. I know you don't like that. It's about you, Devin. I mean, Eric has already been a guest. Julian will hopefully be a guest here, but today it's about you. And the reason I say it's about you, Devin, because what I've noticed about people like you, and Eric is one of my business partners and has been for like 25, 27 years, and guys like Julian, even Larry and Ty, is they have a deep sense of why. Right? Why am I doing this? You shared some of that, Devin, right? You said based on your family upbringing and your mom and service to the community, but there's something that goes beyond that, right? Goes beyond what you see in the normal community. Where I grew up, like where Julian grew up and where Eric grew up, we grew up really in the hood. Brownsville, East New York, Brooklyn, and the day that I was there looked like Lebanon today, really. And so I have a sense of why, because I've had an opportunity to deliver some cybersecurity back to the community, even the junior high school that I went to. Devin, you've got a why, and it's really built around that whole sense of community. And it's even deeper in growing a larger organization. Can you give us a little bit more light on why? And I know Eric and Julian know what your part of what your why is too, and I'm sure they'll weigh in, but I'd like to hear from you first on your deep why, and then we'll give it to the broader group as well. Okay.
Yeah. So I to your point, I did touch on that earlier, right? I think it's certainly very important for us, irrespective of where we are in life, to do our part here, right? So when our shelf life expires, right, and we look back, and folks look back, it's like, how does the world know you were here, right? I inherited an industry that is still white male dominated, right? That's unfortunate. It is the way it is. I'm not blaming, casting blames or any dispersions on my white male colleagues. It is the way it is for various reasons, right? Us stepping into the industry when we did, as we did, right? The fact that each of us saw the necessity and the urgency to try to leave the industry just a tad bit more diverse than we found it, right, to me speaks volumes to, the question of the why, right? It's service beyond self, right? You think about, this quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that has resonated with me, throughout, my career. And it's a question, right? The quote is, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others, right? And so, that helps me, and provides kind of a North Star, for my why as it pertains to my volunteership, right? She might not be on, but one of our early volunteer chief CFOs for then ICMCP, now Cyversity, actually came up with this quote that also resonates with me big time, right? And that I've kind of co-opted. And the quote goes, I work to feed my family. I volunteer. Soul has been critical. On the professional side, David, as a young enlisted guy in the U.S. Air Force, right? We were hammered home the Air Force core values, right? And there are 3 of them. And, I've actually adopted those as much of what I live by as well, right? And, the Air Force core values are integrity first. So you got to have integrity at the personal and professional level, especially, someone with fiduciary responsibility, right? The role of CISO, right? So integrity first, service before self, right? Goes back to the service component, right? Serving other community, serving, a mission, right, instilled in me as a boy by my mama, right? So I would say that, certainly the fact that we're all motivated to serve our community through Cyversity and our volunteership, right, is a huge component of the why. And for me professionally, taking pride in what I do as a Chief Information Security Officer, to support the organizations that I've been lucky enough to support, right? Certainly helps to hammer home that important component of my core value.
Great.
So I'd love to hear Julian, Reverend, your why, and certainly Eric as well.
Well, Devin, I'll tell a complete story because I was complacent when I first met you. It's an interesting story,
That hasn't changed, by the way. I mean, it's not like you're not complacent now. What are you trying to say? I'm just kidding.
Devin, as a from where you're from, I've heard you guys should have multiple jobs and you only have one. That means you're lazy, but I don't want to go into that right now because this is a really important topic.
Oh my goodness.
So here's the deal, right? These guys know, and everyone who knows me knows that I'm just who I am, unfiltered. I get in trouble all the time because I'm not the most PC person in the world. The first time I met Devin, I was working for a vendor, like now I work for Rapid7, and I was trying to sell him stuff. And I didn't get to sell him anything because he was at ADP at the time. But Devin did mention to me, he says, hey, Julie, I'm really appreciative of what you've accomplished in your career. And of course, he was the CISO for ADP at the time. He says, but don't you think it's a little strange that there's very few people that look like you and I, or in other groups that are underrepresented in greater society, that aren't sitting around the table for these strategic meetings? And I hadn't thought about that before Devin said it. I noticed it, I saw it. It was kind of an afterthought for me. And when he said it to me, as when I talk to my white male colleagues, because as Devin said, as the chairman of Cyversity, you know, every conference I do, when we talk about diversity and inclusion, it's like a bad thing these days, it seems, to be a white straight male in business. And I think that's a horrible thing. The issue is if you've got, I don't know, globally, 3+ million job openings in the field of cybersecurity, and we can't seem to find enough people, we need to open our aperture to who we're trying to bring into the community. And Devin was a visionary for that. And he said to me, hey, Julian, there's not enough people who look like us or other underrepresented people at the table. Can you help me do something about it? And then to show his commitment to it, I live in Tampa, Florida. He and his wife both came down and said, we want to meet with you. And we met at a Marriott, I think, right on the bay, as I remember. And he said, here's what my vision is. Here's what I think we need to do. And here's where I think we need to go. And I need 2 things from you. I need you to write a check, and I need your Rolodex. As I remember, Devin, that's how our conversation went. And I did both. And the reason I did both is, and most people don't know this about me, I'm a former Baptist minister. They kicked me out for all the right reasons. I wasn't called to be a Baptist minister, but I was called to have a ministry, and I do believe in God. And my ministry right now is helping people become the better of whoever they are today. And one way to become better is through financial prosperity. And I can tell you, I hate what the bad guys do, our adversaries in cyber, but I wouldn't be in business and live the way I do if they didn't. That's just the facts. Again, just being straight up about what world is. And you don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to have a master's degree. Hell, I don't even have an undergraduate degree. To do something in cybersecurity that provides something that has value and helps us against our adversaries, not just the ones that we see every day, but the ones that we don't see. Most things in life, as I have learned, are derived around having a vocation that you purpose yourself after. So I say all of that to say this. Devin Bryant, many people have called me and said, Devin calls you his mentor, I'm sorry. And I go, that's so funny, because I consider him my mentor. And the reason I consider Devin my mentor is because he opened my aperture for what I wasn't doing to help the community of people that are on this call right now. It has become one of my missions. I would live and die by diversity. Again, not excluding white males, because that's wrong. It's not their fault that they had money and that they had access. Don't blame them for that. What you should blame them for is if you educate them and make them aware of what is primarily, in my belief, unconscious in its form of how it turns into quote unquote discrimination. It really is, in my opinion, unconscious. I don't think most white guys wake up in the morning and go to work at some Fortune, 20 company, go, let me figure out how I can keep as many minorities and other gender people away from my company. It's just not reality. What they do, which is what most of us do. Let me go find other people who I easily connect with, who think like me and came from environments like me, and let me try and add more of those people to my environment. They do that. I did it too. I don't do it any longer. And so what Devin helped me to understand, and why, I'm still chairman of Cyversity after I don't know how many years now, 7, even though every year I try and resign. Devin and Eric are both witnesses for that. As Eric took up the mantle of Devin and brought us to higher levels, is we need all of us need to give back to the communities that we came from, but educate the communities that in the past we are perceived as adversarial, but they're not adversarial. I mean, we have several, specifically, I'm thinking about Ed, white male members of our board at Cyversity who completely, matter of fact, I think Ed is more committed than I am to this mission in terms
He's
of what his
definitely a
efforts have
rock
been,
star.
the time he's given to
Yeah,
it.
and I would
Go ahead,
say,
Devin, I'm
Julian,
sorry.
no, on that note, right? One of the things that, we're nothing without our army of volunteers, right? So, always take time to shout out to Beverly Benson, Jillian Basin, Roland Basin, Humberto Hilario, all of those, the folks driving our mentor protege program. And so definitely shout outs to them, and as well as our mentors, right? And it's important that we double click on that, right? Because I can tell you, and I say this public and I say this privately, I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have mentorship from white males, right? And sponsorship.
Same for me.
Right?
Same for me.
Breaking into the senior executive services ranks at the Internal Revenue Service as a young man who looked like I did would not have been possible if former Navy Captain Dan Gaelic had not championed, my cause, right? I wouldn't be where I am as a
Devin, I
global
want to add
CISO.
that also talks funny like you do. You
Totally
also have a funny accent, but keep going, man. I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, but and this one is important, right? Because coming out of the military, coming out of the government, trying to break in the private sector, this current CISO, Chief Security Officer of TikTok, took a chance on me, right? And you all know him, Roland Cloutier. I mean, Roland Cloutier gave me a shot at ADP, and had it not been for him, I wouldn't be where I am today, right? So
Thank
those,
God for
I
Roland.
mean, and again, when much like you did, Julian, you cut one of the first checks for ICMCP. Eric, we definitely need to get to Eric, because Eric did cut a very big check as well early in the days for ICMCP back then. And the other person that not only cut that check, but also got the company to get behind it was Roland Cloutier, right?
Agreed.
ADP was one of our first global sponsor. Roland was one of the first members on our strategic advisory board as a white male. So, hey, we will not ever bash or disparage the white males in the industry who are, at times, as you mentioned, Ed, right? Even more committed than some of us to the cause. So we definitely need our white male allies, and we just want to make sure that we double click on that. I think Eric, Julie, I don't know if you're done on it, but
I'm done.
You're never done. You're just taking a pause. Okay, Eric.
No, I'm done.
No, I'm going to be quick. I was on a week ago, Dave, or last week, 2 weeks ago. So I would refer people back to that video for my backdrop. I won't repeat that, need up to time. What I will say is that the time I met Devin, I would probably have considered myself as being complacent as well. And I was looking for, what is it that people are going to associate you with when it is your time, right? When it's later on in life. And when I heard the passion that was in Devin's voice, as well as the effort that him and his family was placing behind the effort, and the people that rally around him, it was very easy to get infectious. So this movement is going to continue to move to the next level and new heights with the support of those individuals like Ed, continued support from Roland and the like. It is a team effort, and I'm honored to be a part of the team.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Eric. I really appreciate
Thanks,
you jumping in there too. Having still a little bit of challenges, there are a lot of people that are trying to get in that can't seem to get in. Looks like the link may be shut down and not allowing them to get in. So in the background, I'm trying to get them onto this conference, like about 15 people, right? Devin, you had 90 people register for you last week. when we had people.
I did just send the link, Dave. Did you
I
see
saw it.
that?
I saw it, Eric, and I'm gonna work in the background after I ask this next question. What's interesting though is that you, Devin, Julian, and Eric, you kind of answered my next question. It was a question I was going to say, hey, Julian, Devin, finish this sentence. I'm sitting in RSA with Larry and Julian, and we're looking around and we're not seeing enough people. But boom, you did answer that question. So let me move on. In planning for
So there's more to that, David, actually, because I think it's important, right, that that folks realize that what we did, I didn't consider to be very special at all, right? And to put a little bit more context on it, right? We're sitting at a conference year after year. This was we filed the paperwork for ICMCP back then in 2014, but up until that point, right? The headliners for RSA opening keynotes were what? I mean, there were hardly any woman at all on stage. And I mean, Chris Young, who was at McAfee at the time. I think prior to that, he was at Cyvalence. I mean, and
now he was
Robert,
at RSA.
RSA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then Robert Thompson from Microsoft and Enrique Salem. I mean, when you look at the diversity or the lack thereof that was at the stage at RSA, right? And there you are sitting in the audience as a female or as a Black and brown practitioners, right? It had to ask the question, how come, why are we not represented on the stage? Are we not good enough? We're not smart enough, not talented enough, right? To make the big stage, right? And that really triggered much of the conversation that year, right? 2013, 2014. And if you think about it, it wasn't even that long ago, right? Now, I think there's a lot more intentionality to make sure that, panels at conferences are not manels, just all males, right? As, and certainly there's a lot more diversity on stage as well. But I think with sitting there, I think it just made it very real for us that we needed to try to do, what we could, knowing this problem is going to be so much larger than Cyversity, ICMCP, pick any of the minority serving organizations, grassroots efforts or other, right? But we wanted to do the little that we could to try to tackle that. So hopefully someday, right, we will have, the headliners and keynotes, right, will look a little bit different than they do today, right? So that's kind of it was important for us to just kind of touch on that a little bit, David, because there's a little bit more context there.
I mean, it was really one of the questions you and I just shared earlier, like, you're sitting there and you're looking around and it becomes clearly evident that there's something missing here that could add a lot more to the conversation. And I'm glad you spent more time on that. Devin,
and I think, I'm sorry, I'll shut up after this.
Please, this is about you.
No,
Devin, give it to us.
Because this is important. No, this is important, right? It's very important to me. I'm very passionate about it because, growing up where I did, right? And, I've volunteered in the inner cities wherever I have lived, right? Going into an inner city school in Washington, D.C., right? To provide mentorship for their robotics competition, right? And looking around at, the students that are there, I think it's important for us as practitioners, females, Black and brown practitioners, minority practitioners, in industry, to make sure we're showing up for career days, right? Our children can't be what they can't see, right? So I have been foot stomping this at all, our conferences that, as a part of being an ICMCP, a Cyversity member, an EWF member, a Women in Cybersecurity member, a Blacks in Cybersecurity member, we should take responsibility to make sure that, especially now when most career days are virtual anyway, right? Take the time to show up for our kids, and especially, those in the inner cities, because it's hard for them to be what they can't see, right? So, the image of who a cybersecurity practitioner looks like it's still not us, right? It's still not a female, right? That the image will continue to permeate and perpetuate itself until we change it. So I think it's important for us to show up and certainly help to change the mental images that our kids have of who does this cybersecurity stuff. So all right,
Great,
back to you,
great.
David.
Thank you, Devin. And look, that part of the question, I had been taking notes while you guys were talking, but that part of the question comes to me to talk about the fact that, in order to get to where you were, you went through a litany of names there for a couple of minutes ago, just a whole litany of people that you had worked with that had inspired you and tutored you and mentored you to get to where you are. I was listening to Les McCullough on Clubhouse a couple of days ago with Tomas Maldonado, and Les said, hey, if you don't have a network as you enter this field, it's going to be challenging, right?
You're right.
So my question as I wrote it down was, this whole idea of network being net worth is really critical, and it does matter, and it does mean something. Why did you go out and build a network? And what was the purpose behind building that network? Did it end up focusing itself on this sort of initiative and others similar to it? What's the whole deal with building this network? Just let us hear your perspective around that.
Actually, I would like to hear Julian so I can piggyback off of whatever he says. Because in all seriousness, Dave, I started out not with the intentionality that I think I've evolved into, right? I wanted to connect with people I found interesting, right? So one of the things that I would do, I guess I was a fanboy, if you will. So I'm at a conference and somebody's on stage and they're presenting a topic that I find interesting, or I read a white paper and it's written by somebody that that I find interesting. A white paper is interesting. I would just look them up on LinkedIn and connect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing it, particularly from the perspective of, if they made this presentation and I found it interesting, they may be doing something else that I might be able to learn from. So that was kind of the approach. Similarly, if they're in the business of community and service in their community and being part of causes that are larger than themselves, right? That would interest me. So I would add them to my network, right? So, but I don't believe going into, building my network, and I had as much intentionality at first. I think a lot of it was just, kind of like, selfish motivation. Who can I learn from? What else interesting are they going to tweet that I might want to hear, or, interesting talks they're going to give, and, who are they connected to that, I might know. And certainly what causes are they associated with, and how do those causes kind of intersect and have synergies with what we're trying to do at ICMCP. So in the latter part, it really got a lot more intentional about, who I add and why I add them, certainly from a professional perspective, but definitely also from, volunteerism perspective as well. But for the record, my network is nothing compared to Julian. I don't believe there's anybody in industry or even outside industry that Julian doesn't know.
Is that true, Julian? Tell us about your networking why. And you do look buff. You do look buff, brother. Trust me. We're in the same age.
No, so here's the deal. I am by definition a connector. My father and mother raised me to be a Baptist pastor. It didn't work out. I was a little too straight with people about what I thought was wrong, and I would use scripture to back it up. But I am still a believer. To Devin's point, and to the question you just asked, right? It's about the reality of the situation, and sometimes reality is harsh. For me, and Devin said something that's very critical. My father used to say this to me all the time, and he didn't create it. But he used to say to me, Julian, you can't be it if you can't see it. My God, I mean, I'm almost in tears about this. Devin opened me up to a whole new world that I hadn't considered at the time, right? When I first met Devin, Julian was a very selfish individual and he was worried about himself. He wanted to give back to society, speaking of myself in third person. And I did in ways. I'd write a check for this, I'd write a small check for that. And, somebody else would reach me and I'd write a check for this. And then he hit me with something that was core to me because unlike Devin, who is a core practitioner in cybersecurity and very good at what he does, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I love starting companies. I love working with people who want to start companies. And so when he mentioned to me about what was going on in cybersecurity, and he said, "Hey, look around yourself," and I looked around and I didn't see anybody who looked like me. My first thought was not just for the practitioners in the community, but also for the providers in the community. Julian, what am I going to do with this? And dear God, please give me the resources and allow me to bring everything to bear. So as I mentioned, Devin said to me, "I want your Rolodex and I need you to write a check." I think right now I'm in the top 3% of connections on LinkedIn. Not that that means much because I don't know most of the people I'm connected to on LinkedIn. What does matter, because I am a connector, is there are people who I have purposefully in my life said, these are connections that won't just help me or others today. These are connections that will help us in the future. And so I purposefully put on my calendar, because I live with ADD. If you don't know what that is, attention deficit disorder. Take a pill for it most days of the week. I purposely put on my calendar, I need to call this person once a quarter. I need to call this person every other month. I need to call this person every week. I need to call this person daily, whatever it is, because those connections are how we make things happen. In and of ourselves, we can do nothing. Let's face it, at the end of the day, whoever we are individually, we're not much. We live for a little while, we die, and we go back to the dust. Our heritage and our legacy is in those who we touch, who take it on to the next generation. And right now, most importantly, again, because right now it seems like we're in a fight that we'll never win. The attackers and the adversaries, as it relates to cybersecurity, they absolutely have the advantage. I'm trying to protect everything, and they're looking for one little hole that they can poke through so they can start doing their mastery of figuring out whatever it is they need to do. We have to do this as a village. We have to do it as a community. And if we don't use the communities that we built, like my, 25,000 connections on LinkedIn, whichever of those that I actually connect with, or the people who I call on these regular basis, who I call my mentors, if we don't use those for the greater good of what is good for society, then why are we living anywhere? That's a big component of why I'm in Cyversity. And thank God for Devin for pulling me into the cause.
So interesting. And I just want a personal commentary for just 1 minute, and I swear I won't be long, because it has impact here. One of my mentees, and this is all attributed to you gentlemen, right? And Larry, who just joined, but one of my mentees in the background.
I'm leaving.
Don't go just yet, because this is critical to you as well. One of my mentees in the background, because we were having challenges getting in here, getting folks in here, in the background was sharing his link with others, Larry, Darwin, and the whole group of folks that were coming in here, Lawrence and Serenity. And these are mentees that you guys have given to me to oversee, to shepherd, because I'm a minister's son too, Julian, right? To shepherd. And in the background, Carlos has been giving them some sort of link to get these folks in here, right? This is not a backslapping conversation, guys, right? But the reality is it's a community and it's a village. And, you gave us an opportunity to sort of engage and train and work with and talk with. And I'm not a cybersecurity practitioner, right? I'm just a guy that loves it. And my business partner, Eric, was like, get in or I'll kill you, that kind of thing, right? So I just wanted to say, thank you. And then I also want to ask Larry to jump up on stage for a minute and Julian's been doing a good job of ribbing Devin without you here, but since now you're here, I'd like to hear your commentary to Devin about your relationship with him, your longstanding engagement and work relationship with him, and because I know that you're one of the co-founders, and so Larry, just jump up on stage for a minute, please.
Yeah. So real quick. So first off, thank you, David, for the work that you're doing. Right, the work that you've done and the work that you continue to do, and keeping this crew engaged, keeping these mentees who have gone through a number of different things engaged with us as an organization has been plentiful and fruitful to them, but also fruitful to us as an organization. With that, though, I owe Julian, right? I didn't know Devin, right? Devin and I knew of each other, but we didn't know each other. And it was me going to Julian being the minister and, one that many of us in the industry have looked up to for a long period of time. He's the central connector that enabled all of this. Because as I came to him about, hey, right, something needs to happen. We need, would you be willing to financially support an organization that's going to create more diversity? He was like, I just had this conversation with Devin. Devin Bryant? I'm like, I've heard of him. We've never actually met. He's like, you two should talk. And literally it was him saying that had Devin and I begin to have the conversation and dialogue. And it just so happened that a couple of months after Black Hat, where I talked to Julian about it, Devin and I were doing a panel together in Jacksonville. And we ran into each other in the Atlanta airport. And then in the airport spoke about it, and then met for breakfast the next morning in Jacksonville and spoke about exactly what it was we wanted to do, because our thoughts had aligned, right? And so the reality is I think this is bigger than all of us, right? Y'all know, right? So Julian's and David, both of you guys are ministers' sons. I'm not, right? But I truly believe, right? I've been through a lot, and some of you guys know my story about my entire life and the things I've been through from growing up to today. And the reality is I am a firm believer that God doesn't let anything happen by mistake. And me thinking about it because of the speaking that I was doing, all the conferences that I was traveling to, and not seeing people looking like me, and Devin having that same journey at the same time, but both of us happening to be connected to Julian and wanting to have that conversation with him, that thing didn't happen by mistake, right? And so all of these things just really is just part of all of us having bigger faith in something beyond ourselves and recognizing that something needed to happen and it needed to start somewhere. The impetus had to happen somewhere, somehow, to enable what we're starting to build to become a thing. And the reality is, if you think about the 7-year journey that we've been on in building this, right, and you think about how we've been able to do it, the number of lives that have been impacted, I don't think we ever imagined holistically this. We knew we had a problem. We knew somebody needed to do something in the industry to deal with it, but we just wanted to create an organization that was going to help, right? And the fact that we've been able to last 7 years and continue to grow through that 7 years is just something beyond anything. And all of us have had large roles in that, right? Everybody has stepped up when they needed to. People have been able to step back when they needed to, because the reality is life hasn't stopped for any of us as we've gone through this journey. But what we've done is we've built a community through this that's enabled all of us to actually live the lives we need to live, while also giving back and creating what is ultimately going to be a legacy for all of us that are involved on this journey, because it's creating something that's going to potentially change the mantra and change the stereotype of what specifically Black men and people of color are to each other, right? If you think about the old mentality of crab in a barrel, it's unfortunately historically tied to Black people of color. People are accustomed to us pulling each other down and pulling each other back. And so this being one of few organizations that is actually doing something where we're all jumping in this together, right? We're not incentivized by doing this. We're all doing this because we know it needs to be done. And the fact that we're pulling each other up is really going to generationally change things for so many people. And that's the thing that excites me.
Larry, I gotta jump on top of that. You're right. I introduced you guys, and but it was out of the ADD-ness of myself. As I remember, I told Devin, look, I can write a check and I can introduce you to people. Don't ask me to do anything operational. I have people who work for me to do that stuff because I've learned I'm not good at it. There's this guy, Larry Whiteside, who is also very passionate about this, and you guys should talk to each other along with Carlos, because Carlos was involved at that time as well. But I want to give an anecdotal story about what Larry just said. You know, I've had bad luck with cars recently, but I recently bought a Tesla Plaid, which was one of my dream cars. But I bought another dream car at the same time by mistake. Won't talk about it now, but it was by mistake. But I get the Tesla Plaid, and you know, Rapid 7, I live here in Tampa. We just opened the Center of Excellence here. And if you live anywhere near this area, even if you don't, we need to hire a lot of people. And in the next 3 to 5 years, we want to put, you know, 500 to 1,000 people in Tampa. And the CEO, Corey Thomas, who has also been a very strong benefactor of our organization from the beginning, is he might be the singular African-American CEO right now of publicly traded cybersecurity companies, now that I think about it, since Chris is now at Microsoft in business development. But in any event, to talk to Larry's point about what people expect from underrepresented communities, I buy this new Tesla Plaid. I'm proud of it. And all of a sudden, you know, after 2 years, I'm driving to a job that's in downtown Tampa from where I live here in Dunedin. And a young gentleman, a young African-American gentleman, Black gentleman, 19 years old, I move into a lane, he moves a little afterwards, and he hits my brand new Tesla Plaid that doesn't even have 500 miles. Needless to say, I was a little upset about it. And stay with me here because the story's going somewhere that is pertinent to this. Well, the accident happens. I talk to him. He says he's not responsible. I then inform him that Teslas have cameras everywhere and it records everything. And maybe you should consider your story, because if we have to call a policeman, I'm going to set him in his car and I'm going to let him look at the video, and he's going to see that the car that was in full self-driving moved into the lane first. I know why you made the mistake you did. There was a car next to you. It pulled away. You didn't look the second time. I was already in the lane and had control of the lane, and you pulled into me. So if you want, we can just settle this real quickly. Just say you were in the wrong. We call our insurance companies right now. Get it. No, I wasn't in the wrong. But I could see the fear in his eyes. Something else was going on. His mother pulls up, 30 minutes later, because now we're waiting for the police, which took an hour and a half. And his mother pulls up and she looks at the damage on his car. She looks at the damage to my car and she says, look, I can clearly see my son was in the wrong. Can I please see the video? He told me he's gonna have a video. I said, hey, you can set in my car if you feel comfortable, and I'll hit play and you can look at it. And she saw it. And she says to me, she says, look, my car is insured in my name, and I'm the only one with insurance. He's 19 years old. He's a good boy. He just got this job. I'm trying to help him build a career for himself because he's a college dropout, but he's smart. And I don't want this to really impact him. And I said, look, ma'am, all the video shows is the car hit my car and when it hit it. It's up to you to decide what you're going to tell a police officer. Just understand that if the police officer comes to me, I'm going to be honest with him about who was driving the car. But it's up to you and your son to decide this. So she immediately starts crying. We're now standing on the side of the highway. Policeman pulls up. He sees me hugging this woman as she's crying. And he goes, I'm a little confused. I thought there was an accident here and there's some contention. I said, no, there is. I said, my name is Julian, and I won't say her name. Her name is such and such. And she's the representative in this accident, but on the opposite side. What shocked him is that she was Black and that we weren't arguing on the side of the road as two Black people. What I saw when I saw the young man who hit my car was my own son, about the same height. They even look alike. And now that kid is about to join Cyversity. He's about to become one of our members. He's about to understand what it means to come into the universe of cybersecurity and what that can mean not only for his own personal well-being, but for the overall community. And that's what we need to do. We can't allow these little things in life. You know, we live and we die. And what matters the most is what we leave behind. What I could have left behind was, you hit my new $160,000 car and I want to hurt you as much as I can. Because trust me, my flesh, my internal person wanted to do that.
Wow, that's how you roll, Julian? Whoa. $160,000? That's how you roll? What?
I got two of them at the same time. I won't talk about it because I'll start crying.
Man,
So,
you need to up your donation to
unapproved.
Cyversity. We need more scholarships out of you. Let me see.
Devin,
Where's Ed Adams at?
Tesla doesn't give any discounts. So
Ed Adams, we need to hit up
I don't wanna
Julian
talk
to
about
up his donation. Hey,
I don't
but
wanna
in all
talk about it.
seriousness,
I don't wanna talk about it.
let me say this, because some of the things that Larry touched on, is also definitely, resonates with me. And Julian, what you just closed up with, make sure that we leave a legacy that outlasts us, right? On this call right now is someone that I have been so touched, moved, and inspired by, that, there are times when, early days of ICMCP, we didn't think we were going to make it, right? We're a startup nonprofit, with volunteers who could pitch in when they could and how they could. And a lot of things fell through the cracks and things didn't get followed up on. But, this young man, right, who initiated a carpool of four of his classmates from, somewhere in Rhode Island said, what? There's a conference of Black and brown people and women, we're going, right? And he dragged them to Washington, D.C., I don't know where they end up sleeping. I don't end up sleeping in the car. But and to see him now and what he has done with his career, Darwin, you give me so much hope, so much passion to continue to do what we do. And, we couldn't be more proud of you, Darwin. And, dude, it's like, if we had like a model graduate of our Cyversity ICMCP efforts, I mean, you are the epitome of that, young man. So
Darwin,
keep climbing, keep soaring.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Devin. I think so. Real quick on where we slept at, we ended up pulling whatever money we had together. We got like $200 each from our school. It was 5 of us. We rented a car. We drove 8 hours from Rhode Island down to DC when there was a storm headed to New England. So we actually beat the storm. And the storm is the reason why Corey Thomas wasn't able to make the conference, right? Because Corey had a talk there. So
no, you're right.
When we got there, we had an Airbnb in DC. It was a shithole, pardon my language. There was there was a flood in the bathroom. There was hair on the girl's pillow. And girls do not like unsanitary places. So we were like, all right, we need to scrap this whole thing, find a hotel. This was the day before the conference. So we did just that. We got a hotel, maybe like 30 minutes out from DC. We drove in on that first day. We received with mad love, learned a ton. We received like on-stage shout outs, obviously from Devin. Also like CEO of ISC Squared, David Shearer, and just like everybody was showing their support. David came up to us and was like, what can we do to support you? And that's where we started our relationship. And that's kind of like how this group, part of the reason why this group was birthed. But another thing I want to say about Corey Thomas is I asked Eric if he could connect me with Corey Thomas, because I was like, man, I would love to meet the CEO of Rapid7. And so Eric handed over his email, and I think he let him know that I'd be reaching out. So I reached out to him. After like 3 months of back and forth with his assistant and everything else, I was able to get an hour call with Corey. And Corey actually, we have similar upbringings, right? He grew up in Atlanta. I grew up in inner city Providence. We both got in trouble very early in our lives, and our families moved us away from those bad neighborhoods. Then we were put on the proper trajectory. And now, so I was at the end of the call, I was asking Corey, like, if you were in my position, 19, 20 years old, what would you be looking to do to improve your career? He was like, you're a junior going into your senior year, right? And he pointed me towards this program that he actually completed at Harvard Business School called the Summer Venture Management Program. And it was extremely timely because you could only apply for that program as a junior going into your senior year. And what that program is, it allows you to spend a week in the life of an MBA student while living on campus at Harvard Business School. So I applied, I kind of name dropped him towards the end. I didn't think I would get into that program because it's very rigorous, and I actually ended up getting in. And while so the crazy thing is too, I was interning with Les McCullum in DC, which I actually met him at IMCP, and he was the one who gave me the green pass to go to Harvard.
Wow.
And then while I'm at Harvard,
Wow.
David gave me the call that I received the Black Hat scholarship to go to Black Hat that August. So just to give you an idea how much this group has impacted me and all the work that they've been doing, it's truly amazing, and also God sent, absolutely. I don't believe anything happens like by chance, but if you put yourself out there and you impose your will on the world and show folks that you're hungry and willing to learn, I think things begin to happen. The other thing, Julian, you asked me what I'm doing now. I'm a cloud security consultant at Accenture, focusing on Microsoft Azure. I've actually got an exam today, which I pushed back to accommodate this call, certified Kubernetes administrator exam. And then just one more thing, I've received news that I'll be giving a technical workshop at Security Weekly Unlocked this December. I'll be teaching KQL Kung Fu and Azure Sentinel, which is Microsoft's cloud-based SIM. So we can talk about more of that, but I just really wanted to go into the story and just didn't want to leave any details out. It's truly amazing what this group has done, and you folks should definitely be patting your back. I think you've achieved and executed on the mission 100 times over. So
no doubt. You know, one of the questions that I wanted to ask has to do with mentees and folks that are trying to find their way into this discipline, this practice. In preparing for this conversation, I went and did some research on the state of entry-level cybersecurity practitioners into the industry. And in fact, many of the things that I heard, some of which of them said that there's really no more entry-level jobs available. Most of the folks that come to this industry have to come with minimally coding skills, automation skills, networking skills, and things of that nature. So, you know, back to Julian's point about 3 million plus jobs being available, the certifications out the wazoo, everybody has them, but certifications don't actually speak to your capabilities and your skills and your knowledge and what you know and what you can do. The question I have for you, Devin, and all of you, Eric and Julian and Larry, what do these entry-level folks really need to do? And you're all hiring managers. What do they need to do? What do they need to present? Where do they need to go? What is it that makes them attractive to someone like you to hire them? Right? Let me stop there and just ask the question and let you answer the question, because it's really critical, because we know that there's a whole host of people trying to get into this field, but not everybody's getting in. It's a matter of access. So please share some ideas about what entry-level folks have to do to get into this industry. Julian, Devin, you first, please.
Yeah. So I'll wade in there, but I mean, it's just, Darwin's story is just so powerful, and each time I hear it, it just gives me, so much more, fuel, so much more fire, to try to do even more, right? For young folks like Darwin who are out there hungry for an opportunity, all somebody has to do is just, give them a shot, right? Give them a shot, and watch them soar, right? And we have so many of those people in ICMCP's mentoring program, ICMCP, as ICMCP Cyversity members, right? It really, for me, one of the biggest disappointments that I have is that I'm not able to help more of the Darwins out there, right? Going to the networks and, who's in the Rolodex and making those connections. We have been truly blessed and truly lucky to be able to help a number of folks start their careers, but I wish we could do more for all the other Darwins that there are out there as our members. I would say, as you listen to Darwin, I mean, imagine somebody bringing that kind of passion to an interview, right? That kind of passion, that kind of hunger. To me, that sells it for me, right? They may not have any of the certifications, but they are showing up with a hunger, a drive, a motivation, an expectation of excellence that, for me, those are some of the key attributes that I look for. especially entry level, right? And certainly you guys have seen, much of what's been written and already, touched on across industry and, the problematic HR practices where they're looking for entry level folks with 5 years of experience and what kind of certifications, which is just nuts, right? I don't know if Larry's still on, but as Cyversity, we do need to use our platform, and we've invested heavily over the past 7 years to grow a pretty significant platform that's Cyversity, and we need to use that platform to message against those practices, because it's ridiculous that so many HR departments are demanding, 5 years, 3 years experience for entry level roles, right? It's ridiculous, right? Give the folks who are hungry, who are motivated, who are ambitious, give them an opportunity to get in there and show you what they can do. Don't hold them to some unrealistic standard. How are you going to have a CISSP if you have, you're just fresh out of college, right? You have no time in seat to develop any practical experience, but you're expecting a CISSP or a CISA, or, it's just ridiculous. So what's important for me, David, I'll just wind it down here, is that, in those conversations with the potential hiring manager, bring that passion, bring that energy, bring that drive, bring that motivation. That seals the deal for me. Now, I'm not naive. That said, I'm not naive in not recognizing the fact that your resume has to make it past HR before you get to the hiring manager. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of our folks are getting, pardon the expression, screwed, right? Because resumes, and I've helped a lot of folks with this. We've done, kind of resume workshops as well at Cyversity. We have to be very intentional in what we put on our resumes at times to make it past HR. And unfortunately, that's just the state of play. Until we can educate, and CISOs in respective organizations can educate their HR departments so that, to get them off some of these ridiculous requirements, right? Resumes of our members are still not getting it past HR into the hiring manager. So we have to also pay attention to that as well, right? Paying attention to what's on paper, because what's on paper has got to be good enough to get you past that initial screening, to get to the hiring manager, to hopefully where you have a chance eyeball to sell yourself. But for me, the aptitude and the willingness to learn new things, and that passion and that hunger, that will seal the deal for me every time.
Sure.
Sorry, I think Larry, you were trying to get in.
I just want to ask everybody, 1 second, Larry, please, everybody to mute unless you're going to be talking, because there's a little background noise. So if you're not talking, thank you very much for doing that. And Devin, thank you for your comment. Larry, if you have something to say, please.
Yeah. So real quick, everything Devin said is spot on, but I'm going to echo the passion. I'm going to give some additional context to that, right? So it's a combination of passion about what you want to do, right? Passion about being in the industry is extremely important, but it's also passion around the skill that you bring to the table, right? If you love cloud and cloud security, show and demonstrate your passion there. Show that you've built a Kubernetes environment in AWS. Show that you've done, if you love security architecture, show the architecture things that you're doing on your own, because that demonstrates the passion that you have outside of work, right? That's how you show passion. It's not just about how you come across during the interview and speak highly and intelligently and fervently about what you do, but it's demonstrating that I've got a passion for this, and then here's how you can see it, because I'm doing all these other things, right? I'm doing all these things outside of what I'm doing every day in the job. It's those combination of passions that employers want to see. Now, to Devin's point, you do have to get past the resume stuff. Now, what you do there is that's where you utilize your network. I tell people all the time, I coach on this. It is important that if you have a company that you are going to interview for and you want to engage with them, find out who is in the leadership, find out who is potentially in the potential interviewing role that you're going to participate in. Find who might be on the interview panel by going through and looking who works at this company, who's in cybersecurity at this company. Oh, let me go see who they are on LinkedIn. oh, here are conversations that they're having on LinkedIn. Let me add some comments. Let me begin to dialogue with them. Because what happens is you begin to dialogue with them in a context of something via LinkedIn, an article or something that they're passionate about. You get into an interview panel and then you become familiar, right? You get into an interview situation and you become familiar because you can drop, hey, oh yeah, I was talking with you. You put this on LinkedIn about this and we said this, and they were like, oh yeah, you were the one who commented. You have to understand there's still an aspect of our industry that familiarity matters. And so as underserved communities, we are likely not always going to be the ones sitting in the interview panel, and you're not always going to have someone there. So you got to find a way to utilize the network of the people in this room, the Larrys, the Devons, the Julians, and Carlos, Eric, and see who are the people we're connected to, who are those people that you can begin to build a dialogue with, because familiarity matters. So those passion in those multiple fronts, and then utilizing these connections to build familiarity will help you immensely.
Excuse me, we got about 10 minutes left, or even less than that. I want to invite anyone in any of the attendees to either come on and ask a question of Devin and of Julian and of Larry and of Eric, right? If you wanted to ask them a question, the mentees that are in the audience, especially the mentees that I've been given the opportunity to work with, don't be shy. You already know how I feel about that. Let's come out and have a conversation with these gentlemen about anything that you're looking to develop and grow and develop in your career. If you've got questions, ask them. I've got 2 more questions, and I can always come up with more. That's how I think. But yes, ask questions, please, because you don't get, what is it that a friend of mine said? You miss 1,000% of the shots that you don't take. Take the shot. Take the shot. Ask the question. Devin, corporations are benefiting from the fact that
No. Wait, whoa, wait, David. Wait, time out. You got to pause for the question though, because
you know what?
maybe if you pause, somebody will ask a question. But hey, before you do the question, congrats to Carlos, who just nailed the CISSP. Good on you. Congrats, and certainly Darwin. We have no doubt that you're gonna knock that cert out of the park when you take it next. And a young man posted something in the chat about, seeing, Carlos Edwards and I as execs at the IRS and how that has motivated him. He's no longer on the call, but, I want to just personally thank him for saying that. Certainly lessons to us as leaders is that sometimes we don't even know the kind of role models that we are being for folks, right? Going back to, C1B1, right?
Yes.
But thanks Daryl Banks for posting that. Along those lines, guys, Julian, doesn't give himself enough credit, nor does Eric. We think about, CEOs who look like these gentlemen, right? Julian was one of the few, Black male or Black period, anything, head of a cybersecurity startup when we met at RSA several years ago. Right.
Yeah.
To his point, tragically, right now, Corey Thomas is the only, head of a cybersecurity company who looks like him. Right. And that's something that we've got to change. So I certainly encourage young, bright, talented, Black and brown practitioners, female practitioners to bring their tech, bring their innovation to market. We got to change that dynamic as well at that level. And so I don't know if there's any questions from the audience, but I'd be happy to take any now, and certainly my colleagues as well.
I just want to say thank you to everybody here. I know you guys are all extremely busy, and it's amazing that you guys make time for to have these type of conversations, because it motivates me, and I know it motivates and inspires everybody else. I remember before I joined ICMCP, it was just like a grind. It was just discouraging, and so just finding this group and finding everybody just helped me, motivated me, and just helped me get to the point where I'm at right now.
Thanks, Carlos. Yeah, we're thrilled, to have created a platform, a forum, to serve, bright, young, talented folks like yourself. One of the things, quite frankly, we when we launched ICMCP, we underestimated the need, we totally underestimated the need, right? You know, so we thought we are going to get, you know, folks, kids in college, you know, but we also got a lot of folks who are existing practitioners in the industry who were looking to transition in, right? And the demand for our services far exceeded the capacity that we had, right? So at the time we had,
they're more than half of our population. Transitioning adults.
Yes.
Like there's a young lady who I just responded to in the chat. I think it's Tanisha.
Hey.
She says,
Hi.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
hello.
My name is Devin.
Oh, okay, wait.
Hello, can you hear me?
yeah, we were focusing on Tanisha first, and we can come to you next.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Perfectly fine.
Sorry, I just a quick introduction. I'm new. I joined Cyversity a few months ago. Well, you just changed to Cyversity, and so I've just been signing up for all of the webinars that you're hosting, just so I can get more acquainted with the industry. But I joined because I am a career changer. I'm currently at KPMG. I'm a publicist for them, and I want to go into cybersecurity, basically. So the issue that I'm having is that it's overwhelming because there's so many opportunities in cybersecurity, and I don't know where to start or what lane works for me. And I do reach out to people on LinkedIn. I do things like I'm doing now, joining Cyversity to, you know, learn more about the field. But it's always that same issue that I run into. You just don't have any experience. And then boot camps are expensive. I don't want a degree in this. So where do I start? Well, I don't want a degree now because most of the people I meet don't even have degrees.
No, you don't need one. So,
okay.
So one place to start is, you know, Cyversity offers a ton of scholarships. Both myself, Eric, Devin, and so all of us, we help to sponsor those financially, because when you look at what Cyversity really does, we're starting to offer more services where we provide education services, but in our history has really been more of providing funding or scholarships through organizations that offer them to us for free for you to get educated. One. Two is, as a member of Cyversity, you can request to speak to any of us. And as I put in the chat session, all of us, I mean, they talk about me. I mean, Devon's an actual system. Everybody wants his time. Eric runs the company. You know, David, I don't like him, but people seem to. He's got a lot of connections. Okay. We're here for you. This, you know, as Darwin can attest, we're here for you. So if you need help and you're trying to figure out, you know, where you're going to industry, because you're right, there's 100 different things you can do in cybersecurity. But to Devon's point, right? Entry level is entry level. You don't have to have a whole bunch of experience. You just have to be able to find the companies that are willing to make an investment to give you what you need. Because if you work for companies like the one I work for at Rapid7, we understand there's no way to hire a trained workforce for everything that we need, and that we have to hire in people where we can get them and then provide the facilities to engage them and give them the training they need to get them to the level that they are. And so Tanisha, what I have to say to you is use us for what we're here for, and we're here to provide you with a service.
Yep. And Julian, I'll add one thing to that. Tanisha, what I often encourage folks to do is don't just think technically, right? When you're thinking about cyber, it is governance, risk, and compliance, right? As well as cybersecurity and information assurance. So there's on the governance, risk, and compliance side, you mentioned that you're a publicist where you're currently at. This is all about understanding frameworks,
policies and procedures, baby.
Right, policies and procedures, and communicating compliance against those. That's what a publicist does, right? I would encourage you to look at that space and see if that attracts you. And then that's a step towards anything more technical that you may want to get involved with, because those technologies still need to conform with those policies and procedures.
Got it.
Yeah, just one last thing. I want to throw in a resource. It's called Try Hack Me. It's a $90 per year subscription, and it's probably the
It's
most
awesome.
robust platform that I've ever came across and most extensive. So Try Hack Me. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
I just quickly add, I posted in the chat, make sure you sign up for the Cyversity mentoring program. It's important for you to spend one-on-one time with somebody who can help to steer you. A lot of this is going to be on you, right? Because as you said, there's multiple disciplines within the overall cybersecurity discipline. Which one of those appeal most to you? Which one of those are going to want to make you want to get up, suit up, come to work every day, stay late, get back on it on the nights, on weekends, right? So what appeals to you across the broad spectrum of what you can be doing in the cyber field? Is it cloud? Is it GRC? Is it policy? Is it architecture? Is it reverse engineering malware? Is it, right? That is a personal decision for you. What gives you passion and purpose, right? But do start with a conversation with a mentor. And we've been blessed to have folks who take time away to sign up for our mentoring program as mentors. That's the conversation you need to begin with, I think, as key as well.
Got it. Thank you, guys.
I think there was somebody else as well, David, who we stepped on.
Yes,
earlier.
It was Adabinti.
Adabinti.
Yes. Are you still there, Adabinti?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adebimpe. Tai Lambo introduced me this afternoon to join this meeting, and
Adabimpi, we're losing you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Most of the questions that I had in mind had been answered by Tricia. So I'm looking through the questions on the answers on the chat also. And I truly look forward to my career in cybersecurity. I'm also a new entrant. I'm doing a career change at a very early point in my life, I must say. I've been in the banking and IT industry before now, but now I've ventured into cybersecurity. Thank you so much.
Adabimpi. Oh, I'm sorry, David. Thank God
Julian,
for you.
please continue. Please continue.
And Ty is an excellent mentor to have.
Yes.
But as Devin just said, please sign up join the organization, sign up for the Mentor Protege program. Devin, myself, Eric, as you've heard, David, we're all mentors in that program. And so we want to do everything we can personally to help you. Please join us and let us do everything we can to help guide you. But you can't go wrong with Ty.
Yeah, thank you so much. Ty is a wonderful mentor.
Absolutely.
He's an awesome personality. Yes,
he's awesome.
Thank you so
much. He is awesome.
And we do, Ty, you've been a great, not only a great mentor, but a great resource to Cyversity. You've been a great colleague and a leader too. So it's awesome. We've kind of come to close to the end of our time here. What I've done is, first of all, Devin, really, I consider it another notch on the wall for the Hustlers Club. We'll be renaming that organization, that group soon. But because we want to step into the new age with Cyversity, but we consider it a notch in our belt to have been able to grab you today to sit down and talk.
Stop it. Flattery will get you nowhere, David. So stop it.
I've gotten where I needed to get with you because I got you here. That's great. But no,
you got Julian, you got Eric,
that's right. Larry. That's right. And Larry, you just
wait, Dana. 1 second. Dana Dumas has something to say.
Well, somebody has a question.
Okay.
Zaya, and then Dana has something to say. So
let's go. Let's stay with it. Eric knows.
Zaya, what's your question?
It's Zalia.
Zalia, I'm sorry. I'm old and I can't see. I apologize.
That's okay. So I've been listening to y'all from the very beginning. I've heard your inspiring stories. I definitely appreciate it. But I had one question, and anybody or all of y'all can answer it. I know, y'all had, y'all went through your trials and tribulations and coming into this group. So my question is, did you at any point think that this career that you chose were not for you, or you felt like giving up? And if you ever reached that point, what did you do to get yourself out of that mindset?
That's a great question. I can answer it really quickly. No, not for me.
Yeah.
I think my passion had been connected to cyber and technology in general since the very beginning. I will say though, everything that we talked about on this call has made the experience all the more welcoming, right? Passion is what keeps you waking up early in the morning and doing what you want to do. I think meeting the people along the way and having the support and being able to impact lives and learn and just build networks and the like, that's the icing on that's been the icing on the cake for me.
I would just quickly add, Zalia.
Go ahead.
I was just going to quickly add that, underlying your question is something that is very prevalent across our industry. And it's very prevalent in particular, I think, for Black and Brown and women. And it goes to the heart of what imposter syndrome is all about, right? You might have heard that term. It's where you believe that, and a lot of times we look around the room, we're the only one who look like us, right? But nevertheless, the challenge is that each of us face as practitioners, and I say it's primarily, it primarily affects folks who look like us, but it's not limited to folks who only look like us, right? Minority practitioners in general. But the challenges from imposter syndrome, it's real. There isn't a magic formula for dealing with that. I can tell you that as a global CISO, as a CISO of MUFG Union Bank, as the CISO at KPMG and the Federal Reserve, I too had my days. I had my struggles, right? But I doubled down on the fact that I've earned the right to sit in this chair based on the body of work that I have done throughout my career, based on what I know to be my technical competence. And, so it's like, you got to give yourself that pep talk from time to time. You got to believe in yourself. You've got to believe in yourself, because if you start doubting yourself, it's going to come across, and those around the room will also start doubting you, right? As they say, Hustlers Club. So we're going to have real talk, fake it like till you make it at times. Sometimes that's what it takes, right? But you just have to be confident in yourself, have confidence in yourself, in your abilities. Sorry, Darwin and Julian, I know you guys want to get in here too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say our Caucasian counterparts, and my apologies if anybody else is in this call that doesn't see it this way, but it's like the folks who which we're competing for some of these positions with, we are smarter than them, more talented, and we truly deserve that position. And so telling yourself these negative or kind of putting yourself down and being in that mind state, not going into the interview confident and prepared, giving yourself that best opportunity, while some of our counterparts are truly not fit for the position, but because they're confident may get that position, is something that this group here, Cyversity, is actually trying to tackle by equipping us with some of the skills, right? So the mentality is very key when you're stepping into an interview and on your day-to-day, like executing on your day-to-day duties. So I would just say absolutely work on that. And I don't know, like spiritually, absolutely, for me, it's God, but there's that component as well. So I just really wanted to add that in.
Zalia, you are incredibly made. You're an awesome individual, you're smart, and you have a lot to contribute to this society. Anyone who tries to lead you to believe otherwise, including yourself, is wrong. Doubt and fear, and for me, I mean, physically, if you're not a believer, take it how you want, comes from Satan. That is not what you were built for. However, we all make mistakes and we don't know everything. That's why having mentors that people you can trust, who will be real with you, with who you are. As many people will tell you who've been mentees of mine, and who I am mentees of. It's got to be a real conversation. I've got to understand the whole situation. Let's talk about it, and we get past wherever we are, because we're all evolving from day to day. We go from glory to glory, and it never ends until I'm 6 feet under.
Mhm.
So whatever is going on in your life, you are a great individual and a great person. Let us help you move to wherever you need to go. If there are some issues you need to deal with, Cyversity is here to help you through those.
Sure. Thank you, Julian. I'll say one thing.
More than happy to chat. More than happy
yeah.
to chat, Julian. Like I said, I've been there many a
Yeah.
time. More than happy to chat.
I'll
I
add
think
this-
Dana had one more. Sorry, go ahead. Dave.
Yeah, just one thing, Devin. I felt that way too, Zalea, right? I'm not technical, but I'm in a very technical field. And so there was some disconnect there, but I can tell you this much. Not everything in cybersecurity is technical. There's still leadership roles. There's still serving roles, people development roles, management roles. So, self-efficacy for you, Zalea, determination, grit, growth mindset, all of those things, and especially your support, your spiritual support. So lean into yourself, lean into it, and look for the mentees and the support system that's around you to help you. Dana had a question, and then Jason quick.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I don't have a question. I just want to give thanks to Devin. It's amazing how we connected. It's so amazing, and I'm really thankful to him. We haven't met physically. I'm working. Can you just give me a minute, please? Sorry about this.
So Dana, we'll come right back to you. Jason, quick.
Hey. Oh man, this whole time I thought I had the video on. But for me, I'm someone that's recently got into cybersecurity, and I've earned an associate's and I'm working towards my bachelor's. And
congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I think going back to what y'all were talking about earlier about the entry-level positions, sometimes requiring just having crazy requirements or 3 to 5 years of experience. One thing that I've been trying to do to get around that is by attending conferences and directly talking with the vendors to see if there's any opportunities that they might have. Or a lot of times they may not have a recruiter at some of these conferences, but I'm just trying to follow up on that, afterwards. I guess, what other suggestions would you have as far as trying to pursue positions with any company that's looking for cybersecurity professionals? And then I guess the second part to that is for someone that's done a lot of gig jobs, majority of them not being within cybersecurity, but just being in like IT in general, how long should your resume be? And then do recruiters care about, you doing like capture the flags or hackathons on your own?
It depends on the position. Again, there's 100 different things that you can do in cybersecurity. So, Julian's, in my humble opinion, if you're going to come to the table, you do need to be able to talk the language of cyber. So I'm a big believer in CompTIA and their Network Plus and Security Plus, assuming you have some hardware background. Otherwise, then it should be A Plus, Network Plus, Security Plus. If you want to work for the federal government and get a clearance doing cybersecurity, at a minimum, you have to have Security Plus. It's a mandate now. So I would tell you that you want to do everything you can to school yourself on that, but then don't allow that to limit you from applying for positions, or more specifically, again, I'm going to go back to using the network that Cyversity can provide you with. I can't tell you the number of phone calls that I personally get, and Devin gets, and Eric gets, and David gets about somebody saying, hey, Julian, and usually it's a white dude, Julian, I really am down with more diverse talent. my team is landlocked. We need more people who think differently than what we have right now. Can you, as a representative of Cyversity, please begin to recommend some people to me that might be able to come in, that come from a diverse background and add to the overall quote unquote capabilities of the team that I have. So the network, the community is extremely important, Jason. And, but like I said, my humble opinion is you want to be able to talk the language and understand the basics of it. Network Plus, Security Plus with CompTIA gives you that. We offer scholarships for that. And I've even seen now that through various things, you can get, you know, huge discounts on taking the courses, but you still have to pay for the test. But there are resources within Cyversity to help you with that.
So Jason, one thing real quick, Devin.Bryant at Cyversity.org, more than happy to help you work on your resume. You know, I would strongly advise you to, against putting every 3 month, every 6 month gig that you've done, right, on your resume, to have it scroll for 8-9 pages, right? I don't know that that's going to bring a whole lot of value. So let's talk about how we can better position your resume to take advantage of some of those opportunities out there. The other quick thing I would say, Jason, is this, you know, COVID has devastated industries. It certainly kind of, you know, led to reduction in staff. A lot of, you know, companies have laid off seasoned practitioners, right? And as industry slowly, you know, recovering, there might not have been as many entry-level roles as there were pre-COVID, right? So I realize that it's a struggle right now for folks breaking in, but you know, just don't give up hope. Just keep applying. You know, the opportunities will manifest themselves. But let's make sure your paperwork, first and foremost, is going to get you past that HR screening. And so important to have folks like myself, like Julie and Eric, take a look and see what might you not be saying on your paperwork that would get you past that initial HR screen, right? How can you better position some of those, you know, non-cyber IT roles that you've had to take credit for the cyber related components of those to make your resume a bit more appealing, right? And assuming you make it past the resume screening, one of the other things that we've been doing with a lot of intentionality at Cyversity is try to schedule mock interviews, right? Because folks will get eyeball to eyeball with, you know, hiring manager, and they will mess up on the first question, which usually is tell me about yourself. There are right ways to answer that question, and there are absolutely wrong ways to answer that question, right? And folks sometimes don't even know the difference, right? So I would say, let's start with that resume. Let's do some mocks, and hopefully, you know, we'll be able to help you land something, as Julian said, through our network of networks. But just again, full realization that there aren't as many entry-level roles out there post-COVID as there were pre-COVID. All right.
Thanks very much, Devin. And thanks for asking your question, Jason. So, you know, we're literally about 11 minutes over time. I just wanted to pool the room and see if there's any more questions for Devin or for Julian.
Somebody named Sydney Pullman at 334 said they had a question to ask. So maybe we make that one the last one.
And Dana, thank you for the shout out.
No, I haven't. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. I don't have a question. I'm just really thankful to you, Devin, for encouraging me and being my mentor. It's amazing how we met and we instantly just connected, and I'm really, really thankful for you coming into my life. And it's amazing to see the brotherhood in this group, and continue to let it grow.
It's a brotherhood, sisterhood, but we don't have as many sisters on today,
No
you know, so, but Dana, thank you so much. You've been a blessing as well. It's reverse
Matter
mentoring. I'm
Dana,
learning from you. You're learning from me. Thank you.
Yes.
Dana, do us a favor. One of the things that people, I mean, we're being frank with each other on this call, right? One of the things that Cyversity gets knocked for is not enough female representation. And it's not that we're trying to keep females out. As many women as you know who are interested in cybersecurity, please bring them our way so we can shake that off, because that is not our intent. And thank you so much for what you said about Devin. I don't like him much, but it's good to know some people do.
I'm also part of I'm also part of BCA, so I will definitely let them know about this group as well.
All right, thank you so much.
And remember, he drives a car that's $160,000. So
Oh,
he's got lots of scholarships. Lots of scholarships.
Shut up.
I gotta say
Two
this,
of them.
right? For Julian to say he doesn't like me and to say he doesn't like Devin, I'm in good company. I'm in great company. I'm in great company. But we know, you're right, Dana. This is brotherhood and sisterhood, camaraderie, fellowship. I think it's just an awesome opportunity. And to my boy up there at the top left, Eric Permenter, who dragged me into this kicking and screaming. I've had an incredible role and ride here.
Eric dragged the whole of Link's technology part.
I know.
Yeah, drag the
right?
company, he dragged the
Everybody.
few things in.
Yeah.
Thank God.
We're truly grateful. Truly
Good.
grateful,
Yeah.
Eric. Wouldn't be where we are if you hadn't inserted yourself, enrolled Link's technology partners when you did, because we were at breaking point. I mean, I never forget that.
No, you gotta really blame Larry for that, because going back to being networked when we needed a rock star CISO to get behind our brand, Larry raised his hand and let us borrow his brand. So Larry, kudos to you. Goes full circle, bro.
No doubt.
Indeed.
Amen.
Okay, I guess Sydney Holman is going to take us home with the last question.
Yes, this is Sydney Holman. First, I want to thank Devin, David, Julian, and Eric for your insight and sharing your career journey. Actually, I had most of my questions answered when you spoke to Jason about his question. I just wanted to add, I know from my own personal experience is when I actually got in the door and had a Zoom interview, a lot of pushback was on my experience. Basically, I transitioned, or I'm trying to pivot from a telecommunications industry where I was doing software development and technical support, and I'm trying to pivot into cybersecurity. I've done some training at the local community college and got some certificates. So I understand mentor, because actually when I first entered in the telecommunication industry, I had a mentor and it was very helpful. And I see that would also be helpful in entering in cybersecurity. As far as experience, those companies that actually hold a entry-level role as actually an entry-level role where you don't need 5 years experience, can you expound on what companies that actually support entry-level and support people changing careers and joining a company and trying to get into cybersecurity? What companies should I be looking at? Because right now,
one is Rapid7.
Say that again.
The company I work for. The company I work for is Rapid7, where Corey Thomas, we said, is the singular, Black CEO of cyber companies. We're one of the ones that will take you with the other prerequisites we may have, Sydney. But if you say, I've got some skills, but they're not necessarily cyber, we've got jobs in sales, we've got jobs in marketing, we've got jobs everywhere. And you might start one place and go another one, or you might say, here's what I really want to do. I have some requisite skills in this area, but they're not cyber oriented. Will you allow me to apprentice my way into this environment? And we have apprenticeship programs as well. I put my email address, not my Cyversity address, but my Rapid7 address, which is Julian_Waits@rapid7.com. If anybody on this call wants to apply for a job at the company and you think there's a legitimate, opportunity for you to get it, apply for the job, email me at the same time. Let's set up a Zoom conference so we can talk, so I can I'll find out who the hiring manager is, what the intent is, and I will school you on what they're looking for. Now, it's a different question in terms of, what it means for you to have that opportunity. But Rapid7 will hire people, which is, even if it doesn't say it, ignore what you see on the website. We will hire people with entry level, meaning I don't know what this stuff is yet, and bring you in and engage you in a way that you can grow into it. I give you my personal commitment on that. I just can't give you a commitment that you'll get the job, but I give you a commitment that I'll help you go through the process to try and make that happen.
Ditto for Link's Technology Partners.
Wonderful. Hey,
okay.
Guys.
Thank you. One other thing I wanted to add is just recently I did get into sort of a internship role, there was a company called Minos Labs, and they offer like a career cybersecurity career accelerated program where it does give you additional training. It's unpaid, but they do give you a series of projects, and then I think there's like a 2 days a week you're doing lecture for 2 hours, another 2 days you do lab. So that might be another avenue for people on the call. I actually connected through them through LinkedIn. I saw their advertisement. So it seems like they do a program like this every so often.
Yeah, I haven't heard of Minos, but it sounds legitimate.
So, and in fact, I
share
could
share that link, please.
Okay. But thanks for all your good recommendation and comments.
Sydney, thanks for joining today, and thanks for asking your question and making your comments. Appreciate it very much. Listen, guys, I'm going to put in the chat box, and also, Sydney, make sure you share that link that you were just referring to, because it could be a support for everyone else here today too. I'm going to put in the chat a link to Cyversity's survey process. It's where we ask you guys to just make, all guys and gals, to make comments about our session today, so we can look at what we've done good, and what we need to improve on. And so please go to the link, put your comments in there, good, bad, or indifferent. Everything helps and everything works. That said, Devin, again, I was going in this direction earlier, but thank you very much for steering me in the right direction. Thank you again, but appreciate you coming to speak to our group today, mentees, most of whom I know, and some of whom I don't know. Bringing with you Julian and Larry, and of course, Eric. Appreciate it very much for your time, your emphasis, your directness, and candidness too as well. It's very important. I'm going to give you the last word. I'm going to ask you to have the last word as we close out, but please just share anything you'd like to in closing.
Yeah, I mean, so David, thank you for having me. Thank you for all you continue to do for ICMCP. I'll close with what I open up with, that we are nothing if we're not in the service of each other. So I am very, very pleased to have been part of the Cyversity journey with a mission that's focused on helping to change the trajectories of lives. I continue to be very motivated, very passionate about helping as many as I can for as long as I can. I think I also opened up with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. It says, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" I will close with a quote from Margaret Mead, which goes, "Never underestimate the power of few committed individuals to have massive change. In fact, it's the only thing that has ever driven change." And so I am grateful to be part of the Cyversity journey, Cyversity organization that's continuing to make a change in our industry and change in the lives of those we are privileged enough to touch. I am so grateful for all those who pitch in to volunteer with us. I'm so grateful for all our sponsors who take a chance on us when they write us a check every time we ask, as they know that money is going towards our scholarship programs, our mentorship programs, to help those that we exist to serve. So thanks again for having me. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. Julian, Eric, thank you guys so much for allowing me to be part of this. And Larry, for part of the Cyversity journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Devin, for being Devin. God bless you, brother.
Bless you. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Take care of everyone. Be well.
Good weekend, everyone. Thank
you. Julian, you are looking pretty buff.
No doubt. Well, good. Goodbye, everyone.